Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is 2:03 p.m. I am calling this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my left is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my right is Commissioner, got them switched up. Vice Chair Ty Menser, Commissioner Gary Edwards. We'll start today's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is a land acknowledgement. Vice Chair Ty Menser, would you like to?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would also like to start today's meeting with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically, the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 agenda.
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Today we have two presentations. We'll start with the first one, which is a certificate of appreciation. County Manager Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. It's with great pleasure. I would like to introduce you, Mr. Neil McClanahan. Can you please come to the podium? And this is an opportunity for the board to say thank you for the service that he has provided to the Housing Authority over the last over 20 years. So if you can come to the podium, have the opportunity to address the board, and the board will give you the chance to say thank you personally.
Thank you. I think when you're honoring me, you're honoring my wife, Sandra. Put your hands on. My partner forever and stuff. And there's my other partner in crime in this area where he's in the sheriff's office. But we have the most incredible housing authority in the state. When HUD comes down and tells you, not only are you the best housing authority, or the track record and everything else going on with it, in the state, probably in the nation. This is HUD. HUD is not known for their giving out, kudos very often. I like to have all the members of the housing authority here to stand up. This group here, all of these folks here, are the reason why I'm so proud to have been part of this group. Sit down now. Still not So, yeah, anyway, my father knew I was going to become a police officer. He always said, you never tell me anything I didn't already know.
Much better.
And there you go. And whenever he needed me, I was nowhere to be found. That was a joke. Okay, never mind. Anyway, so it is incredible. This housing authority is incredible. What a gift you have. And please, please, I'll step aside, but please, please recognize and nurture and be happy and with this great, incredible housing authority that you have, not only in the state, but in the nation. So thank you for this honor. Thank you.
Any members of the Housing Authority? I'm looking at you, Craig. Would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, thank you for taking some time out of a very busy schedule, a number of important issues to recognize Neil. One of my favorite stories, some of you have heard of Neil, is he's not a person just studying the issues, but getting his hands involved. We opened up a property out in Tumwater that served 24 households, 5 of whom we asked the school district to identify for us. They were families living in a state of homelessness up in the Black Forest, Capitol Forest, and we got supplies for them. They didn't have any household goods, no mattresses, furniture, and so we started bringing these things in. Neil was physically bringing them in, and a boy who was going to be living there, about 9 years old, came in and he said to Neil, wow, this is really cool. I've never had one of these. And Neil said, you mean your own bedroom? And the boy said, no, a real bed. And so it just kind of tells you what Neil's been doing in terms of helping find the resources to do something like that, as well as the effort to do it physically and the compassion to interact with the youth that way. And he's been involved not just with the Housing Authority, but if you name a social service agency, there's a pretty good chance that Neil was on their board, and there's a reasonable chance he helped found the organization. So just a real big impact. If any of us did 10% for the community, what Neil's done, I don't know if there'd be any problems in the community. So very much appreciate everything that you're doing today to honor his service to the community and to the Housing Authority specifically. Thank you.
Okay, passing it on to Commissioner Edwards. Anything you would like to add?
Well, I'd just add that you got a lot of service out of Neil in his role on the Housing Authority. But you got a lot of service out of him prior to that when he was the undersheriff at the Thurston County Sheriff's Office for more than 20 years. So he gets double kudos, if you will, for his service to the citizens of Thurston County, and my personal thanks. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
I'm going to double those double kudos because I know the hard work you've done both as a housing authority and in the sheriff's office. I think the success of the housing authority is, has to be in large part due to stability and the longevity and the key, seeing through things where you and I talked. I remember some years ago when I first became a commissioner, and you were giving me the history, and the whole world of housing and the needs of the community have really changed, and you've helped see this organization through those changes, and we really appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. And for me, I'm looking at your wife, and she's like nodding on the 21 years of service plus the additional service of the sheriff. She's like, oh yeah, I've been through all of that. But from my point of view, thank you so much, honestly. For someone coming in and hearing of the legacy that you are really leaving behind, and I'm sure this won't be the last of your involvement, but we wanted to really thank your 21 years of service in the Housing Authority, really providing that stability. And, just echoing what Commissioner Edwards said, what Commissioner Menser said, you really have our heartfelt thank you for all of your service during this time. So with that, we would like to offer you a certificate from all of us in recognition of your years of service.
Are we doing a photo? Is that what we're doing? Might break the camera. Where are we going to do that? I'm going to put my hat on for this photo because nobody know who I was if I didn't put a hat on.
1, 2, 3. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Well, as much as we'd enjoy to stay, there's work to be done. Thank you all.
Appreciate you for being here. Thanks, everybody.
next presentation for today is the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Proclamation. County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is my pleasure to introduce to you and ask her to come to the podium, Dr. Thelma Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. For several years now, the county commissioners have been making this proclamation as it relates to the observance of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King holiday, which comes up on Monday, the 16th. And we have been honored in the past to receive this proclamation on behalf of the community. And again, we appreciate your making this proclamation this year. It is part of what happens here in Thurston County, and I want to introduce to you the person who will actually be receiving this proclamation today, and not me this time. But we are reinstituting the community-wide celebration of Martin Luther King holiday, and it will be held on the actual holiday, Monday the 16th at noon at the New Life Baptist Church. And I have the honor to present to you the new pastor of the New Life Baptist Church, who has a real keen interest in community engagement and community involvement, and I wanted him to meet all of you, and you all meet him. So may I present to you Reverend David L. Reeves, the new lead senior pastor of the New Life Baptist Church.
Sir, let me just say thank you so very much to this commission. Madam Chair, thank you, and thank you to each and every one of you who, of course, assemble and make up the commission. Mr. Executive, thank you so much for the county exec being here and for everyone who's here. We celebrate, of course, on the 16th of January. We recognize the work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and certainly I can't say enough about that work and how that work in a very real way has to continue. You know, one of the things that I thought about, and I'm, of course, newly transitioning from the state of North Carolina, of course, relocating from Burlington, North Carolina, where I was born and raised, and certainly no stranger to Washington State, as I came to Washington State here in 2001 by way of the United States Army, and then, of course, found my way into grassroots efforts there in the Tacoma region. And so certainly grateful to be back in the area, and certainly excited about serving the New Life Baptist Church. I simply, just came to say today that we have not arrived, and days like King Day help us move to a place of understanding and help us to draw real understanding about where we are and how far we still have to go. Whether we like it or not, issues of race and issues of greater difficulty continue to rear their heads within our communities, and the sense of togetherness that we all want to feel, we all have to be a part of doing that work. And so certainly wanted to say thank you so very much today for just observing and offering this proclamation, but also wanted to say that it takes all of us to do it. And so we're starting, of course, by way of celebration, January the 16th at 12 noon, as Dr. Jackson has shared. She's been instrumental in helping us move to a place of celebrating once again as a city, but above and beyond that, even in a county-wide fashion. Our 10th Congressional Congresswoman, Marilyn Strickland, will be our keynote for the day, and there will be a host of other dignitaries and leaders from this community, specific to Olympia, Lacey, and all of Thurston County, Tumwater, and the likes, who will be present with us that day. We have to come together, and we have to be intentional about how we assemble as brothers and sisters in the fight. When it's all said and done, Martin King said it this way: a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so certainly we want to have cleaner streets, and we want to have safer streets, and we want to be able to be neighborly and be people of peace who can reside, who can do the work that needs to be done within our community. And so thank you once again, and I pray that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Thank you, Reverend Reeves. I'll pass it on to the commission. Would you like to share any words?
Well, I'm just glad to see that Nat got up from over there and came over here, because I was noticing a little separation going on. I've never seen that before. You had me scared. And anyway, I just want to thank you all for coming today, and thank you so much for your ongoing participation to make Thurston County a better place to live. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Okay, thank you so much for being here. And thanks for letting us know about the event on Monday. It looks like I have some rearranging of my schedule to do because I would very much like to attend that. And just great to meet you, Reverend. I hope to cross paths with you again. Thanks for being here to accept this.
And just echoing Commissioner's words, I want to thank all of you for being here today in honor of this proclamation. Martin Luther King Jr., you know, he was a visionary leader, and we thank him and the thousands who stood really with him, who risked their lives, their livelihoods, to change laws that are representative of all of us. Even still, as Reverend Reeves mentioned, the work still continues, and we have to keep working, but we can only do that with our community. And so thank you again for being here today. I'm ready for a proclamation, Vice Chair, whenever you are.
Okay, Thurston County Proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15, 1929, devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and human rights, and began the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King embraced the practice of nonviolent civil disobedience but was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day was signed into law in 1983, then first observed in 1986. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King himself proclaimed, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." And whereas the Reverend Dr. King's message, which evolved over time from voting, desegregation, to labor rights and peace for all, is still viable today. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners continues its tradition of observance of Dr. King's teachings, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners encourages all people to join in a rededication to the principles of equality and justice for all. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners, in observance of the federal holiday, hereby proclaims Monday, January 16, 2023, as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Thurston County, and encourages all citizens to join in the recognition. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners further encourage citizens to follow Dr. King's mission of service to others by participating in projects that will benefit the community. Adopted this 10th day of January 2023 by the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you.
You should have your jump rope on. Show them a little how lively we can be.
We do this enough. All right, 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. It's more comfortable. I'm here to help.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. That will conclude our presentations for today. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board. Now, it looks like we have a couple of people signed up to provide testimony. If you didn't get a chance to sign up, towards the end of it, I will call any other members in the boardroom who would like to provide testimony. And then we will move on to our Zoom. We are limiting public comment to 3 minutes today. The reason for that is we do have a public hearing at 3:30, and the public hearing at 3:30 is to hear objections to the proposed roll of rates and charges for Pattison Lake Management District Number 23. At 3:30, if our Board of County Commissioners meeting is still ongoing, I will pause the Board of County Commissioners meeting to move on to the public hearing. After, at 4:30, we will be having a Board of Health meeting in the same location. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follow. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request, pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Thank you for your cooperation. With that, I will start with people who have signed up. And I apologize if I butcher your name. It usually happens. Please correct me once you get to the podium. First person I have is Farmer Muhammad Ajub.
Fellow farmers to stand with me. Respected commissioners, Ms. Mejia, Mr. Tymenser, Mr. Gary Edwards, my name is Farmer Muhammad Ayub. I have Dancing Goats and Singing Chickens Organic Farm, and that is at 14062 Yelm Highway Southeast in Yelm, Washington, right opposite Southworth Elementary School, or catty corner from there. So since the 4 minutes is decreased to 3 minutes, I'll try to cut to the chase. As you all know, the farm was issued a NOV, Notice of Violation, on 15 December by one of the county employees. It was supposed to be a routine check. We completed 2 successful compliance years in the past. We have a permit exemption from the Washington State Department of Ecology. And the NOV was a single reason, Muhammad Ayub, you're not aerating your compost sufficiently. Whereas when they left, the Department of Ecology gentleman was saying, Muhammad, you're doing God's work, it's commendable, you planted 1,200 trees, and your service to the environment is commendable. So I thought that we were going to get a certificate of appreciation or a medal of honor from Thurston County, or maybe we'll get invited to the next volunteers dinner for like as if we are the best pilot project. So we are participating with the Thurston Conservation District, and we are in the midst of a farm plan. We are also participating with Thurston County on the HCP, the Habitat Conservation Plan, so that we can go ahead and make more opportunities for wildlife and opportunities for sustenance of this wildlife. We are participating with a nonprofit called Edible Forest Gardens and Ms. Pat Rasmussen, who's the Sustainable Fields and Farms. And this is trying to get a grant to better the farms. And there are 7 other farmers in that pod. We are doing agroforestry, multi-story cropping, increasing biomass. We have swales or rain gardens to increase the water percolation. We have crop rotation. We do biochar application, compost application, and all. Whereas this notice of violation, if it was done by another employee at any other time, maybe the results would have been different. Because when Department of Ecology, Mr. Derek Crockett asked somebody to come with him, Patrick Soderberg was on leave, so he sent a substitute, and they did not know exactly what is going on. Now, I request you to dismiss or rescind or remove this ticket or citation, because it was given hastily, it was harshly worded, it ruined my 12 days of Christmas with a lot of stress, and to move 2,800 cubic yards of compost and take it to the dump, that is crazy. There's no styrofoam, there's no glass, and there's no plastics in there. So why would the dump accept it? So it is a waste of my time. I request you, just tell Mr. David Bain or Art Starry or Patrick Soderberg to dismiss this or tear it, symbolically just tear it apart. Thank you very much. I speak on behalf of other farmers who are also watching this.
Thank you. Next is Mazuradan Mohammed.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone can hear me. I don't have a clock, but I'll try to be as quick as possible. My name is
It's right
Mohammed
here,
Manzoor.
So
Right there.
I'll give you a cue.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Manzoor, and I'm an ex-service member. I served in active duty from 2013 to 2020. I was an aviation mechanic. I served in Iraq in the fight for Mosul. I'm out of service now. I'm a very good friend of Dr. Ayub, and the way I was introduced to him was when I was an active duty service member at JBLM. I used to go to the Friday service, and Ayub was the spiritual leader over there. So when I saw him, my unconscious bias kicked in. I assumed he was just a normal employee. Later, I came to know he was a doctor. And after that, I came to know that he was a farmer as well. So my relationship started building with him because, he actually always invited me to his farm, which was like a peaceful retreat for me. It gave me a sense of belonging, gave me a culture of inclusion. He offered me employment a lot of times when I was under a lot of stress, and I had a lot of other things going on in my life. Not only he does that to me, but he does to the other service members as well. So I'm here testifying for him to make sure this board understands the kind of hard work that he's putting into his farm, which is meticulous, which is due diligent. Because when I go to his farm, to give you a little bit of background on my education, I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm also a master's in information systems. And I understand the ecology and the data behind it, right? But Dr. Farmer Ayub is so meticulous that whenever I go to his farm, he breaks down everything for me. He breaks down how a compost is done. He breaks down what he's going to do with it. He breaks down why do we need to actually go and have trees and farms and animals. He breaks down everything that I need to understand. Even though with so much education behind me, it's so beautiful to see when he breaks down all those things. And when he told me about the violation that he received in December, in 10 days of leave, and he told me that he has such a big task if he has to comply with that, I had a lot of sympathy for him because it was not an easy task. So one thing I want the board to understand and maybe help us is we always need to have a solution-oriented approach. We not only have to have a solution-oriented approach, but when we actually work with people who are in the county, we need to serve this notices not only as a purpose of education, remediation, but also as an opportunity to make sure we actually learn each other in a better way.
30 seconds, sir.
Thank you. So I request the board to help Farmer Ayub, get this ticket of violation dismissed, rescinded, and help him make that farm as a pilot program, which can be copied by others, because that farm consumes a lot of time. He is a doctor, he serves service members on JBLM, plus he does this. So we need to help him take this opportunity, make life easier for him, and make sure he contributes to the environment. Thank you so much.
Next is Janice Wheeler.
Thank you. I just have a short statement prepared. My name is Janice Wheeler. I reside at 1919 Thurston Avenue Northeast in Olympia, Thurston County. As a deputy director of a nonprofit that creates school gardens in Snohomish and King counties utilizing compost, I can speak with knowledge of the concerns we're talking about here today. Excuse me. I have known Farmer Ayub for over 4 years, and I greatly admire him. He contributes a lot to the community. Excuse me. Farmer Ayub manages what comes in to be composted with great oversight. I have seen for myself that he does not allow any noxious weeds, garbage, or any kinds of plastics. He uses no poisons or pesticides. He diligently studies and partners with others to knowledgeably apply healthy composting practices. The clean mounds on his farm mean that farming can be done with much less water use. Reducing water use on farms is critical for not further draining already low water resources. His farming practices not only leave the soil and water clean, but also nurtured and honored. There is substantial evidence Farmer Ayub is not harming anything, as the county is fearing. Rather, he is to be admired and supported. Please revoke the violation because it's short-sighted and unjust. Farmer Ayub makes Thurston County a better place to live. Thank you.
Next is Pat Rasmussen. Pat Rasmussen
I think Pat is
So he's on Zoom.
on Zoom? Okay. So then we will get to them once we get, next is Sam Payne.
My name's Sam Payne. I'm General Manager at Resilient Veterans, a nonprofit dedicated to farms and such. I am also a member of the Agricultural Work Group at Thurston County Planning. And I'm fairly well connected with the regulatory agencies. And formerly, I was a corporate level project manager with an oil company, and this is not my first rodeo with a regulatory agency. Now, what I am doing and what is being done is reaching out to the Thurston Conservation District and writing a farm plan that is suitable for Dr. Ayoub's property. And I am reaching out to the Washington State Department of Agriculture, the staff there, to revisit these criteria and rules and regulations regarding composting. I can read the regulation of solid waste. I see some holes in it. So, furthermore, I am contributing a significant amount of my personal funds to a legal defense fund on behalf of Dancing Goat. I want you to understand, as a veteran, and one that honestly believes that we need to produce food in Thurston County. Ladies and gentlemen, I am engaged. Thank you.
Next is Barry Halverson.
With only 3 minutes, you're going to see me back next week to finish this. But Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Barry Halverson, Lake Lawrence Lake Management District Steering Committee. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the history of Lake Lawrence. I have added information from the Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary Environmental Impact Statement from June 2021. Commissioner Mincer, during the board's agenda-setting meeting on 16 August 2022, you said in response to staff comments, I quote, "I appreciate that. That is what our communities expect. I get very nervous when we think humans can engineer nature. If I have a choice, I would take the natural process," unquote. Most would agree with that statement until they learned what our lakes have experienced. That is what I intend to discuss today. The most unnatural human activities that have forever changed our lakes. LMDs are spending their own money to correct what these activities have caused. Human activity greatly accelerated the eutrophication or dying of our lakes in a way that has dramatically increased the production of algae and aquatic plants. In 1984, there was a bustling sawmill on the east side. Another mill was operating by the early 1890s. All the sawdust from the mills was pushed into the lake. From 1908 to 1928, the Olympia Light and Power Company, later bought out by Puget Power, needed more energy. A ditch was dug from the Deschutes River into the south end of Lake Lawrence, dumping up to 30,000 cubic yards of sediment into the lake annually over 20 years, greatly expanding the area habitable for aquatic plants and power supplied by all of the Olympia area. The dredging study that we paid for showed that over 127 acres of our 330-acre lake are covered with over 20 feet of sediment delivered into our lake by the mills and mud sediment that the ditch brought into Lake Lawrence from the Deschutes River. According to the studies, the sawmills and power dam accelerated the eutrophication of Lake Lawrence by as much as 200 years. Much like building the dam across the eastern end of Budd Inlet accelerated the death of Capitol Lake. The Capitol Lake project wants you to throw millions of dollars into maintenance dredge Budd Inlet once the state restores Butt Inlet by getting rid of Capitol Lake. The studies show the Deschutes River filled up Capitol Lake, bringing as much as 35,000 cubic yards of nutrient-rich sediment into the lake annually, resulting in over 13 feet of sediment in some areas,
20 seconds, sir.
bringing unprecedented aquatic plant growth and uncontrolled algae blooms and other water quality issues. I'm going to stop there. I'll continue next week, but there's more about what has happened to our lakes in this area that informs us about what has happened and what we need to do to fix them. It was not a natural process. We're trying to fix our lakes. Thank you very much.
Next is Bernie Meyer.
Good afternoon, I'm Bernie Meyer. I live down the street on Pattison, 4 blocks south.
Sorry, sir, 1 second. Can people on Zoom please mute themselves? Thank you. Sorry, can we restart the timer, please? Thank you. Sorry, please start again, I apologize.
I live just the other side of Martin Way. I am here to support the withdrawing of the charges or the notice on the farm of Dr. Muhammad Ayub. I have known him for 20 years and the work he's done, and I totally advocate organic farming, which he's attempting with this community to run. I got started in urban and rural advocacy from Cleveland, Ohio in the 1960s. In the 70s, I lived for 5 years in Denver, Colorado, doing advocacy on urban and rural. In 78, I moved to Washington State. My present priorities are abolishing nuclear weapons and the anthropogenic climate disruption. My reading is on the subject. Recently, I read Regenesis, Feeding the World Without Devouring the Planet by George Monbiot. And Food, Depression and Dependency, Resisting a New World Order by the Global Research Organization. I go to India every year from 2005 to 2019 as Gandhi, carrying the message of Gandhi in the world throughout India. And I'm called American Gandhi there. The last time I was there in 2018 and 19 at the Presidential Palace to give Gandhi's birthday, 150th birthday message. So I conclude with Dr. Ayub's final words in a statement that he submitted to you. Dismiss the charges, quote, spirit of cooperation, collaboration, mentorship, advancement, respect, and coaching to incubating farming business. 1% of this country has organic land for farming or agricultural purposes. We need many more farms like Dr. Ayub and his community are putting together. Thank you.
Next, I have Angela Ronaldo.
Good afternoon. My name's Angela Ronaldo. I'm the CEO of Supreme Living. And I'm here today to advise you that we are holding a meet and greet tomorrow evening at the Kodiak Room between 5 and 7 p.m. on 225 Sussex Avenue in Tenino to discuss with the community of Tenino the proposed Supreme Living project that is going to be located at 2813 140th Ave Southwest in Tenino. Over the last several months, there have been a lot of questions about what Supreme Living is doing since we brought that property there. And we have we have decided that we would like to speak with the community, and we're going to do that tomorrow night. We're extending an invitation to you. We're also available to brief the county commissioners on this project as well. And we have been working very closely with the planning department and staff there. So that's what I'm here for today, is to just advise you of this meeting tomorrow evening. All right, thank you.
You signed up, so I was like,
Yeah. Ms. Ronaldo, can I ask you, can I ask you a question before you go?
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
'Cause I may not be able to have any chance. Besides coming here and letting us know, which I appreciate, and that's tomorrow night, can you describe any other outreach you've done so that the folks that might be most interested in attending would know?
Yes, I posted on the Tenino Bukoda Facebook page, which I think, at least I've been apprised, would be a good way to reach individuals in the community. And I think it's that Facebook page that had most of the conversations prior to us about what's going on at our property there. So
And when did that go up?
I posted the first one yesterday. And I joined the group, so I hope I did it correctly. I saw my post there this afternoon. It was pending for a little bit, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Leslie Ahmed.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Ahmed. I live at 712 Torden Lane Southeast in Lacey. I rise today to speak in support of Dr. Ayub's farm and this NOV notice. I'm concerned that there is an organic farm that's under threat, and I'm concerned with the process that this NOV has been issued. It seems to me that there would be support for small business and support for minority-owned business, and that if there was some fault with him in the running of that farm, that there would be a period to address it, not just to immediately lose your business. That doesn't make good business sense to me. That's not sound public policy, and it's certainly not sound enforcement of public policy. So I'm asking you to toss out this NOV and to also train the employee who has put everybody in a situation where we have to come before you to ask you to do what's right by someone who is of great service and benefit to this community. Dr. Ayub not only works at Madigan in support of our armed forces, he also is a pillar of our community down here. Over the summer, there were some summer school events, and we needed some places for kids to go to learn things, and he opened his farm up to us, the petting zoo and everything, for the kids to come in and to learn about farming and horticulture and agriculture and everything that they can learn, which is, that's a lifelong impact that these kids have, and it ties children to the ground. And that's what we need, not getting rid of people's businesses because there's an employee who's focused on shutting businesses down. So that's why I'm here today, and I hope that you will take that under very serious consideration and give Dr. Ayub reciprocity, because he's been giving this community a lot over the years, and I believe he deserves to be given every opportunity to rectify whatever it is that your employee has a problem with. Thank you for your time.
That will conclude my sign-up sheet. Is there anyone else in the boardroom that would like to provide public testimony at this time? Seeing none, County Manager, we will move on to Zoom. If you'll call on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be calling you based on the order that I have you on my Zoom screen. First that I have is Ms. Melissa Chaudhry. Please go ahead and mute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Rasmussen Chaudhry, and I live at 2420 Angela Street Southeast in Lacey, Thurston County. I'm here to speak on behalf of Farmer Ayub and his admirable work at Dancing Goats and Singing Chickens Organic Farm. I've studied permaculture on 4 continents worked in slums in multiple locations, and was raised by a public health doctor with international humanitarian experience. I'm deeply familiar with the public health challenges that stem from the lack of proper hygiene in the disposal of solid waste, but also the flip side, those associated with degraded topsoil and the terrible consequences to the health of both ecosystems and people. Farmer Ayub is a dedicated, well-educated, passionate, and responsible farmer who brought his considerable intelligence and work ethic to bear on public service as a physician for decades before transitioning to farming. Speaking personally, I deeply admire his local leadership in land care and growing food in ways that benefit everyone from the soil up. He's careful and well-versed in the farming techniques he uses, which are designed to rebuild topsoil, one of the most precious, threatened, and crucial resources on Earth. He's actually implementing much of the best of what I've studied the world over for 15 years, and that should make him a local treasure. If there's any doubt about the benefits of his practices, I recommend the following resources: the book Restoration Agriculture by Mark Shepard, the book Hugelkultur, Raised Bed Vegetable Gardening with Hugelkultur by James Paris, and the excellent Wikipedia article on the topic. In the meantime, I humbly ask that this respected board please drop the citation against Farmer Ayub, or leave him of the onerous, wasteful, and unnecessary demand that he remove and waste hundreds of tons of carefully collected and well-tended soil building material, and let him go back to his ongoing dedicated efforts to care for his land, produce nourishing food, and educate the public on what we can all do to restore and improve the ecosystems on which we all depend. I ask please for summary dismissal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Maggie Reardon. Go ahead. 3 minutes?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I want to say I support Dr. Ayub's efforts. The timeline given by the county to have this resolved in a intelligent manner is way too short, especially with the holidays. I object to this being forced on Dr. Ayub, and he knows what he's doing, and it needs to be resolved so that he can go about continuing to give inspiration and help to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Mustafa Mohammed.
Thank you very much for the time that you have given me today. I hope you can see me. Respected commissioners, may peace be upon you. My name is Mustafa Muhammad Ali. I reside at 6027 Thornbury Place, Southeast in Lacey, Washington, Thurston County. I'm here to support Farmer Ayub. I've been a resident of Washington State for the past 22 years with 4 generations of my family. I'm a civil engineer. I work for the Washington State Department of Transportation, my employer of 21 years, and have had a very positive working relationship with Thurston counties and the cities that it encompasses through being a former board member and responsible for the new Islamic Center. I'm not here to comment for or against the violation because of the experiences that I've had with Thurston County in the past and the values that the county aspires to. So I have complete faith in the in the intention that the county has. However, because we were reminded today that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, I'm here simply to vouch for Dr. Ayub's character, his status, and not just in our community, but the larger Thurston County community as well. I've known farmer Dr. Ayub for 15 plus years. He's a real gentle man, whether it's servicemen and women at JBLM or community members in need, he does his best to improve the well-being and save lives within the communities that he serves. He's been a cornerstone of outreach and interfaith engagement activities that has had a transformational change in our community's perception in the eyes of the wider community. And I would encourage the pastor who was here from New Life Baptist Church to contact him so that we can start these bonds working here as well. The farm really, as you've heard before, is a center of activity, especially for our families and our kids who interact with small
20
animals,
seconds, sir.
picking up
Seconds.
eggs, learning all about farming and composting. And Dr. Yub in particular is very, very cautious. If this was a violation, I can assure you it must be unintentional. Please give him grace because it's a minority small business and it would set a poor precedent going forward. I would appeal therefore to the board to have this violation rescinded. Thank you for your time and I hope for the best.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Pat Rasmussen. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead. Is she? Ms. Pat Rasmussen. Sorry, my apologies. Ms. Rasmussen. Okay, moving on to next, Ms. Helen Whitley.
Hi, my name is Helen Wheatley, 2218 McCormick Court, Southeast Olympia. I'm a member of your Planning Commission, but I'm speaking on my own behalf today. Different topic. I'm concerned about the rollout of the county's periodic comprehensive plan review process and how it relates to last year's and this year's docket. For the best results, this year's docket should aim to clearly put the periodic review process into everything. According to Commerce, quote, jurisdictions often combine the annual comprehensive plan docket with the periodic update review when both are considered in the same year. It's a shame this advice was not heeded starting in 2022. This year, you will be looking at planning updates that have not really been analyzed for how well they would pass muster with the periodic review. Don't you want to be sure these updates will meet current requirements? A practical way to parse this information is to use the Department of Commerce Growth Management Act and Critical Area Compliance checklists. Full of yes or no questions, they're easy for the county to do and share and easy for the public to understand. And at the very least, commissioners could request that the checklists be provided prior to your public hearings. Now that the periodic review process truly is underway, doesn't it make sense to develop scoping based on knowing what is out of compliance? The best way to get solutions is to use public participation effectively. The Commerce Periodic Review Planning Guidebook says, jurisdictions must establish a public participation program to engage with residents, stakeholders, tribes, and state agencies early and often. Early means start with scoping. Why so early? The equity expectation of the state is that the county seek insight on what data it needs and what actions it can take to be optimal for everyone. This includes those who have even been injured by past policies. You want to avoid wasting time and resources on work that doesn't fit the need. The county has already raced ahead and put out a survey for the periodic review and is moving through the scoping period while the public and you need to know more about what parts of the current comp plan must be fixed, as well as better planning for equity outreach. Finally, besides considering use of compliance checklists and improving the public involvement plan to assure the early and often input needed for results-oriented periodic review, please encourage transparency about staff capacity and consider hiring outside experts where needed, especially for addressing equity and affordable housing elements. The legislature has tried to put its money where its mouth is in terms of helping local governments get the resources they need, but you have to take the step of naming those needs to go after the support. Thank you. And I will be sending a letter with the resources attached so that you can see what I mean by these checklists. Thanks.
Next, I have Mr. Bob Rudolph. Go ahead, sir. 2 minutes. Mr. Rudolph, would you like to provide testimony?
Maybe you should tell them how to unmute themselves. They don't know. Even Pat Rasmussen is texting that she tried to speak.
Well, I cannot control the unmute button from here. They need to control their own devices. Mr. Rudolph, can you hear me?
Mr. Chavez, microphone's gone dead.
Can you hear me, Mr. Wilson? No? No. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for letting us know.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. We are testing the new system, so I appreciate your patience and I appreciate the perspective. So so let me go back to Ms. Pat Rasmussen. If you'd like to provide testimony, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes. Okay, next I have Mr. Bob Rudolph. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll do the best I can. Thank you, and thank you to the Board of Commissioners. By the way, my name is Bob Rudolph, and I am an interloper. I live in Steilacoom, but I've spent a lot of time with the legislature in Olympia, so I kind of feel like I'm an adopted Thurston County guy. Real quickly, as you can tell, I've been around for quite a while. I am a product of the 40s, 50s generation. I have worked on farms, service stations, and other work, including career in the military. I have seen the bad old days when it seemed like we didn't care about the environment. Seems like it was damn the torpedoes and full speed ahead. And that is what we did until the 1960s, when the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act were introduced. Finally, people started caring about the air we breathed, the water we drank, and even the health of our planet. In those older days, in the field behind our home, where I grew up, I remember the manure spreaders going full steam ahead with all that stuff flying up in the air, or people changing the oil and putting it down the drain. As a kid on vacation in Florida, I can remember before dawn, you could hear these big trucks fogging the housing areas with DDT for mosquitoes. You couldn't even see it and anything across it. Now, thank goodness it's illegal. We are finally trying to take care of our health and the health of our planet. We still have a long way to go. If we all do our part, if we do our little part, a lot gets done. This is where Farmer Ayub comes in. I have known Mohammed for many years, probably 15 or more, from different organizations, and as a doctor in Madigan, where he served the soldiers coming back from war with all kinds of environmental damage and wounds from burn pits, depleted uranium shells, and more. Many of this damage also affected their families and their children medically. Being a doctor, seeing all this, Mohammed is keenly aware of the need to take care of our environment. I have been following Farmer Ayub for years with his farm. He has had so many different kinds of animals, fruits, vegetables, and different kinds of plants. We have had discussions about saving the environment for many years. As you can tell by my background, that I am also very conscious and careful of our environment. So we have had good discussions about the best way to run his farm and do justice to his crops and animals and justice to the environment, which he is so keenly aware of. From my observation, Farmer Ayub has bent over backwards to make sure that his farm comply with all, not part of, but all environmental regulations for the benefit of his farm, his community, and to do his part to save the planet. I highly recommend you get rid of this certificate, and I support, obviously, my friend, Dr. Ayub. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, I have Mr. Dawood Yusuf. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Daud. I am a farmer slash Dr. Ayub's son, and I am a doctor in NHS United Kingdom. I have known my dad to be known by Dr. Ayub as well as Farmer Ayub, and I think he is equally glad and passionate about both the roles that he's put in. Especially with being a farmer, he's extremely concerned about how industrialization and so many chemical wastes are affecting the whole of Earth and not just the United States of America, that he's doing his part, maybe more than his part, to fix it for the future generations. Initially, when I started to ask questions about the farm and how he does it, I was very glad to know that he's never used a single amount of pesticide to make his crops greener or to make the produced higher. And he would explain so thoroughly how he used nitrogen fixing bacteria to help him and how there were so many farmers' friends just in the biology itself. Now, with regard to the notice of violation that was sent, and I think it was extremely unfair that it was sent over the Christmas period, during which my dad had many sleepless nights, and the whole of holiday period was not just ruined for him, but the whole family as well. And I believe the employee, if not trained for how to send NOVs, must be known what timings need to be done for these kinds of intimidations. With regards to the composting, I have known him to read countless guidelines, books from US and abroad on how to do composting and how to make sure that he follows them in letter and spirit. With the amount of resources he has, even if he lags somewhere, and I believe that I have full faith in Thurston County that they will rather encourage him and not just cause hurt and more agony so that he just starts giving up. And I have never seen him lose more hope than now. But I think this is a time that the American justice system rises to what is expected from it. And I am sincerely hoping that to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Tony Wilson.
I really don't have a comment today, but I do want to express my thankfulness for your generosity, allowing 3 minutes. I've spoken to committees of the state legislature about critical things that were going to change the entire state, and was given 2 minutes, not 3, not 4, and learned how to be effective speaking to them because they are also very busy. So I just want to express my thankfulness for your generosity, allowing this much time for each person when you've got an obviously pressured day. I hope it improves for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Darren Hopkins. You have.
Hi, yes. Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. I know that Dr. Yusuf has complied in 1920 and 1922, or 1920 and 21. And for them to give him where he has to remove and take to the dump all this compost that just needs to be apparently aerated from the report, and not given the time to do it, the financial impact upon him would cause him to lose his business, I believe. So I ask that the violation be dismissed. If it cannot be dismissed, then he be given the time to be able to rectify whatever is wrong. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Miss Julie Wolf.
Hello. I speak in favor of, in support of Farmer Ayub. And I live in Mason County, North Mason County, and serve the Northwest Permaculture Conversions. And from everything I know about him, he's doing everything right. And the county should support and encourage him. And perhaps even be educated by him. And the charges should be removed. The ask for removing healthy soil that takes so much careful care that he's an expert in, to remove that is completely unreasonable and uneducated. So I would respectfully request that the charges be removed and that the person who gave the violation be better educated and not be allowed to do something like this, especially over the holidays with such short notice. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you supporting the good work of Farmer and Dr. Ayub.
Ramiro, before we move on, if there are any more people via Zoom, I want to give priority for those residing in Thurston County. So I'm looking at.
I believe that concludes public
That will
testimony.
conclude
I don't
public
have anybody
testimony.
else in Zoom.
I let it go on, but usually this is for people who reside in Thurston County or are affected by the policies that we pass directly. With that, there's not anyone else? No one?
Yes, me. Excuse me, me as well.
Oh,
There's two?
okay.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair.
You got off my screen, and my apologies. Go ahead, Mr. Kyle Dietrich.
Yes. No, hi, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So my name is Kyle Dietrich. I'm a distiller here at Old Soldier Distillery. We're the only distillery in Tacoma, Washington, and we pride ourselves in being all natural, and we do everything from grain to bottle that we do here. Now, I'm speaking in favor in support of Farmer Ayub and what he does for the community and what he does for a lot of the local businesses here. So what he does with his farm and what we do supports a lot of our own values and what we look for in terms of clean, socially economic responsibility. Additionally, with our distillery, and part of what we pride ourselves in is that kind of environmental sustainability. Now, between all the grains that we use and that we're able to provide to all sorts of local farmers and folks and the support we can give within the community, Farmer Ayub is a great example of one business being able to support another business, and his business is absolutely critical to the success of that environmental sustainability that occurs. So, and on top of that, we're able to help with that environment of the top of the process. And what we do for all natural grain is we do free of charge for IU. So with that, the summary dismissal and the violations that have been cited against him, they're at his farm, and while we're working with him, I have seen him turn other folks away that have violated the other ordinances and charges that he's been accused of. So I know Farmer Ayub is absolutely responsible and absolutely thorough as to what enters his property and does not. And with that being said, I'd like to reserve my time and thank you for giving me the chance.
Thank you. My apologies that you went off my screen. Next, I have Mr. Andres Kerr.
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Andreas Carrere. I'm the owner of American Landscape Services. I'm a general contractor located at 8836 Stillicum Road Southeast here in Thurston County. I just want to say I concur with all the previous speakers that supported Dr. Ayub. I would like to express my sincere thanks and support to Farmer Ayub for the work that he is doing in our community with his open house educational workshops he conducts at his farm, in the educating our community to reuse, repurpose, and recycling techniques. He shares his knowledge on greenhouse construction, solar panels, wind turbines, composting, and rainwater harvesting. He also has honeybees, which help in the cross-pollination throughout the community and create some of the most fabulous honey I've ever eaten.
He is not only talking and educating the community about ways to lower our carbon footprint, but actually putting those practices into place. I support Farmer Ayub in the fine work he is accomplishing in our community, and ALS and myself will support Farmer Ayub with finance, labor, construction equipment, and in any way possible for him to continue to operate controlled composting and eco-friendly community farm. And so also, I just ask that the board dismisses the charges against Farmer Ayub and allow him to continue doing this fine work that he's doing in our community.
Thank you, sir. I have two more based on my screen, but I will ask you following the Madam Chair's statement. If you are a county resident, we will give you priority over the testimony. That will be Thurston County resident. So I have Ms. Susan Davenport.
Thank you. My name is Susan Davenport. I live in Olympia, Washington, 115 Sherman Street on the west side. And I am a long-term soil remediation activist. Myself and my mother helped found the TILth organization some 30 plus years ago in the 70s. And this is a statement in support of Dr. Ayub and his efforts that have been well described by others, and his exemplary character and deep values in preserving the earth. I just want to speak in support of his work on soil, creating soil, which is a little known environmental emergency and catastrophe around the world. And to waste the soil, as another speaker said, is a travesty. It's precious. So this is a statement just in his support of him, and that the notice of violation be rescinded, and that rather than fine a local smaller farmer, a person of color, that we would work to support and help and ensure that that person is successful in meeting any of these ordinances or requirements, such as the fellow who said he was working to have those changed, that we would work in support rather than fining and punishing. So I appreciate the commissioners giving me the time, and I hope this will be reconsidered and rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Natalie Martzloff.
Hi, yes, thank you. I am also here to express my support of Farmer Ayub. I am a small farm advocate for the Community Farmland Trust, and all you have to do is look at his Facebook page to see all of the amazing work that Farmer Ayub has been a part of, educating on the front lines of climate change, utilizing alternative technologies. All of that is critical for our survival. I'd like to echo what others have said in requesting rescinding the violation and taking back any of the fees that might be associated with it. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, for the record, can you state where you reside in the county, please?
I reside in Olympia, Washington.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now I believe public testimony has concluded, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, we will move on to our next item, which is County Manager's Update.
I don't have any specific updates this afternoon for you. Thank you.
Thank you. It is 3:17. We will go ahead and go until 3:30. Then we will start our public hearing. The public hearing is to hear objections on the proposed rule of rates and charges for Pattison Lake Management District number 23. So if you're here for that, we will be starting that at 3:30. Next item on our agenda is consent items A through B. Is there any discussion on or wanting to remove an item from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve consent items 3A and 3B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. thank you for all of you who have joined us today to provide public testimony, for taking the time to either come in or join us via Zoom. So with that, we'll move on to department items. Items 4A from the auditor's office is the approval of the voucher list. County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Item 4A for your consideration is to approve the voucher list for the week of November 18, 2022 for a combined amount of $6,488,037. This item is in your department item, as a department item, since we have expenditures related to the atrium building.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Edwards.
Yes, I guess rather than comment on each one of those in the sake of a tight schedule, I would just point out that I do have concerns with A, B, C, and D, and I have voiced those concerns numerous times in public settings that we've conducted here at the county. But it is the democratic process, and I did not win out. And so hopefully we're going to be through this and we're now located in our new facility, and we're going to make those changes from this point on. But I am going to object to these as I've stated in many meetings past. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menser? Okay, no questions. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the voucher list for the week of November 28th, 2022 for a combined amount of $6,488,000.37.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is item 4B, approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your considerations, for you to approve the voucher list for the week of December 5th, 2022, for a combined amount of $2,986,416.10. Also, this voucher list includes expenditures related to the atrium.
Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Menser?
No.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion, sir.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of December 5th, 2022 for a combined amount of $2,986,416.10.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
No. Nay.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is item 4C. It's the approval of the voucher list.
This item is related for your consideration to approve the voucher list for the week of December 19th, 2022, for a combined amount of $3,309,455.54. And this particular item includes expenditures related to the atrium.
Any questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
I am ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of December 19, 2022 for a combined amount of $3,309,455.54.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. And last item under the auditor is approval of the voucher list, item 4D. County Manager.
Thank you. Since this is the last item on this particular set of voucher list for the members of the public, we plan a little bit of a catch-up since in December the board meetings were a little bit combined with the budget process and the budget public hearings. And your last meeting, formal meeting, was on December 13th. So that is why we bring all the many different items for your consideration this time. So this item is for you to consider approving the voucher list for the week of December 26, 2022, for a combined amount of $5,710,798.53.
Thank you.
This also includes expenditures related to the atrium.
Thank you. Okay, any questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Oh, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of December 26, 2022 for a combined amount of $5,710,798.53.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. I was testing all of you to see if you were paying attention. Moving on to the commissioners' items. Item 5A, it's the 2023 election of offices for the Board of County Commissioners. County Manager?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. On January 3rd, 2022, during the planning work session with the Board of County Commissioners, you determined the Commissioner Mejia will serve as the chair. Commissioner Menzer will serve as the vice chair for the 2023 Board of County Commissioners. And this is an item for you to formally approve those assignments.
Okay, are there any questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve Commissioner Mejia as the chair, Commissioner Menzer as vice chair of the 2023 Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yay.
Commissioner Menzer.
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Moving on to item 5B, 2023 Commissioners' Representation and Assignments on Boards and Commissions. County
Thank you,
Manager.
Madam Chair. Also, on your planning session of January 3rd, 2023, you went through the list of just about 44 commissions, boards and commissions that you serve outside the county, and you made some modifications as to the assignments for the 2023 year. So this is for you to actually confirm the list for the 2023 assignments of the Board of County Commissioners to boards and commissions.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Menzer? Okay, I am ready for a motion.
Move to confirm the 2023 Board of County Commissioners representation and assignments to boards and commissions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yay.
Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Okay, moving on to item 5C, TC Media Contract Extension. And Robin Campbell, or County Manager will, okay.
I will cover this item, Madam Chair. Thank you. This is an item for your consideration. The Thurston County has been contracting with TC Media for just about 5 years. TC Media provides production services in air broadcast on government cable channels. The county went out for a request for proposals jointly with the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Topwater to renew the services that TC Media provides. The request for proposals was issued in September 2022, and we only had one respondent in this case. But also parallel to that, the TC Media contract lapsed on December 31st, 2022. The request before you is to extend the current TC Media contract for an additional 6 months. That will be the end of June 2023 for the same amount. That will be $67,500. And that will give enough time for staff to negotiate a more sustainable contract with TC Media, or perhaps any other outfit that provide the same services. So, and again, this is just an extension of the existing contract with TC Media for an additional 6 months for $67,500, and that will give us time to bring you, for your consideration later this year, a new contract. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? Okay, I guess I would just highlight, we've had conversations about these specific items either today at 9 a.m. or last agenda setting. So I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve a 6-month contract extension with TC Media in the amount of $67,500 and authorize the county manager to sign the contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yay.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Moving on to item 5D, contract amendment with DM Ventures Pacific LLC.
I will ask the project manager who is going to be testifying in this. Tom?
The recommendation is to approve a lease amendment number 2. Sorry. My name is Tom Stremke. I'm a capital project manager for Thurston County. And before you, we have a recommended item to approve amendment 2 to the lease for this facility in the additional amount of $1,548,587.88. There's a little history on this. We have the original lease. It was amended by number 1 to extend the start date of our lease to November of this year. This amendment is for the additional construction costs associated with the facility. I'm here to entertain any questions you may have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess the only question I would have, this concludes, I believe, the expenditures on this activity of moving to this facility. Is that right?
Correct.
I mean, there might be other incidental things that come up in the normal course of doing business, but as far as working up to and leasing this building.
Yes, these are the construction costs to renovate the facility, yes.
And we're going to be at about $18 million, is that right? Somewhere in that figure as a finished product with the leases that are going to extend out for the next 7 years.
Correct.
Okay. I'll, for the sake of time, I won't go any farther. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Already in work sessions. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move forward. I am ready for a motion.
I move to approve a lease amendment number 2 to DM Ventures Pacific LLC to add $1,548,587,88 for tenant improvements for a total value of $7,657,616.88 in tenant improvements, and authorize the county manager to sign the lease amendment.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just quickly, ma'am, we have discussed this over the last better than a year. And when one member of the board disagrees and 2 agree, it's the democratic process. This is an example of democracy moving forward. And I've stated my objections in other areas having to do with this. So in the sake of time, I'm not going to go into that any farther. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. With that, I'm going to pause our Board of County Commissioners meeting. We will start our public hearing. And I'm going to ask the clerk of the board to get us the sign-up sheet.
I could read the microphone.
Thank you.
Four is probably okay. 6.
We don't know how many are.
Look like all staff. Given the limited range, we've still got to take care of business with the, it's up to you, Madam Chair.
3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, because we're behind.
Okay. So I am calling this public hearing to order. This is a public hearing for Pattison Lake Management District number 23, proposed role and charges. It is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. It is 3:32 p.m. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear objections to the proposed role of rates and charges for Pattison Lake Management District number 23. This is a hybrid public hearing. Those wishing to testify have joined in person, by Zoom, emailed in comment, or mailed in comment. If you wish to testify, please visit the Thurston County homepage online and select announcements of public hearings on the left-hand side. The information to join this public hearing remotely has been posted there. If you do not wish to testify but would like to listen and follow along, please watch the live stream through the Thurston County YouTube channel to help us manage attendance. Tim Wilson, Water Resource Manager, will provide information on this topic. Assuming members of the public on Zoom wish to testify, the county manager will help me read your name aloud. We will have 3 minutes to testify. Time may not be given to another person. When you are called on, please state your name and address for the record. The clerk of the board will review the timer. The public hearing is now open. Tim Wilson will now present background information, written comments submitted, and any additional information requested by the board.
Good afternoon. Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tim Wilson, Water Resources Manager with Public Works. To provide some background for this topic, Thurston County Lake Management District number 23 for Pattison Lake was created by ordinance number 15345 on November 22nd, 2022. A roll of rates and charges for the new district was prepared, which lists charges for each parcel within the district boundaries. Rates used to calculate these charges were initially submitted to the board by petition from property owners and were the subject of a public hearing held July 26, 2022. Following the hearing, the rates and charges were adopted by resolution of findings and determinations number 16187. The proposed rates were also stated on ballot materials sent to property owners along with the proposed charges to be placed on their parcels. RCW 3661-120 directs the county legislative authority to next hold a public hearing to consider objections to the roll. The public hearing is limited to considering written objections to charges improperly or incorrectly assigned to individual parcels only. Objections to the district's establishment, purpose, or rate structure may not properly be considered in this public hearing as they have already been adopted by resolution, affirmed by ballot, and codified by ordinance. On December 13, 2022, the Board of County Commissioners set today's public hearing. Notice of the public hearing was published in the newspaper of record and mailed to property owners with their parcel numbers and charges. All objections to the roll must include clear grounds for objection and be provided to the board prior to the meeting. The mailed notice for the hearing also directed that objections be submitted by Thursday, January 5th, thus allowing time to investigate the objections, develop any necessary staff reports or maps, and schedule sufficient time during the hearing for their consideration. RCW 3661-120 further stipulates that any objections not submitted in writing prior to the hearing shall be considered waived. A property owner need not be present at the hearing to have their submitted objections considered by the board. After submitted objections and statements have been considered, the board may, 1, approve the roll as presented, 2, modify charges found to be inaccurate or improperly assigned and approve the amended roll, or 3, set the roll aside and direct staff to prepare a new roll. However, if the roll is modified to increase charges or include an omitted property, a new public hearing must be held addressing those specific parcels only. 7 written comments were submitted by the January 5th deadline, and 1 additional written comment was received after the deadline. Written comments have been compiled and forwarded to the clerk of the board. Following today's public hearing, a board briefing will be scheduled to discuss comments received prior to eventual submittal of an AIS with staff recommendations. And with that summary, I am available for any questions the board may have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, ma'am.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay. Since there are no questions from the commissioners, we will go ahead and move on to public testimony. I will proceed with the people who have signed up. Then I will ask if there are any other members in the public who would like to testify, and then we will move on to Zoom. First person I have signed up is John Garrett.
When do you start the timer?
Once you get right on over here.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I can't do this in 3 minutes, but and your mic won't stand up, so that shouldn't be part of the time. Can you hear me? Can you fix that? Or should I as well hold that in my hand?
No, you're good.
Okay. Thank you for being here. And my name's John Garrett. I live at 6045 Hanson Street, West Washington 98513. My family and I have owned the property I live on Lake Pattison for 73 years, okay? And this whole process is my fault, okay? Because I paddle around the lake all the time. I talk to people that were pulling weeds, and I asked them if they'd like to improve the environmental quality of the lake, which I fully support. I had a 35-year with Fish and Wildlife, so I have a background as a biologist and a land manager with Fish and Wildlife. Okay, but I was on the initial steering committee, but I stepped down when they started coming up with these criteria for establishing the assessments. These assessments, in my mind, are not fair and equitable, and there was no transparency. I had neighbors constantly that knew I was on the committee constantly asking me, when are we going to have a public hearing to discuss these proposals? Not the ultimate assessments at the end, but how they were established. Okay, so RCW 61160 states, and I'm going to read you just one paragraph or one sentence out of this. Special assessments may be measured by front footage, acreage, the extent of improvements on the property, or any other factors that are deemed to fairly reflect special benefits. Fairly is the key word here. I don't think any of this was fair and equitable. And I submitted questions to all three commissioners and Tim Wilson, and I still haven't received answers. Now, am I pronouncing it right, Mrs. Mejia? You did respond back, but there were some of these items you didn't know the answers to, okay? And I understand you can't know all this stuff. So number one, property owners on Lake Pattison that own more than one residence on their parcel, okay, were given a 75% discount for the second home, okay? And so that means they were only charged 25% of the basic rate, which is $510 for a residence on a parcel. So their fee or proposed fee was $128. All of those that I know of are income producing rentals, okay, Airbnbs, et cetera. So my point here is that, the other point that I wanted to make, and I'm sorry, I'm not looking at my notes, I'm trying to address you with my eye contact, okay, is that 3 out of the existing
30 seconds.
3 out of the 6 people on the steering committee, which I think you call also petitioners, is that correct? Okay, or is it, okay. 3 out of 6 people own second residence on their property. Oh, is that a conflict of interest? I think so, at least in all the government organizations I've ever had experience with. Okay, so that's number one. They got a 75% discount. The apartments on the lake, and there are 20 apartment units, and one of the owners is here, and she's got another issue there, but they were given a 50% discount, okay? So they were only charged $255 per unit. And then there were numerous properties that were not included in this exercise that I brought up. Some of them are in my backyard. There are other people here that know of others. There are numerous properties that weren't included in this exercise.
Sir, please wrap it
I
up. Your time
understand.
is up.
Thank you
Sir,
very
do you
much.
have written?
I think you should be allowed to finish.
We
You have to
certainly
be
can-
respectful of the 3 minutes. There's a lot of people here that want to speak. Do you have a copy of your public testimony written out?
It's in our packet, actually.
Well, I have the same questions that I submitted to all three of you. I can give you copies of those. Be happy to.
Sir.
Okay, thank you.
I have reviewed those, sir, just so you know.
So if you'll give us,
Thank you so much for your efforts to respond to some of this. I know.
so if you'll give us that, we'll make copies and I'll make
Yeah,
sure.
your second, there's your responses in red.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll make
Okay.
copies. We'll make copies.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Brett Trowbridge.
I don't want to give my major presentation till the end because I don't want to hold all these people up. I just want to make a brief introductory statement now. One is that I want to talk about the fairness of this whole process like everyone else here. Two is that I want to get discovery in this lawsuit that I'm hooked up in now. Your deputy prosecutor, Ms. Horowitz, said she couldn't give me any discovery. I'd have to talk to you. This is my last chance to do so. And third, I'd like to make another settlement proposal. So, and I would hope that settlement proposal would come before you determine how you're going to characterize my properties. So I'd like to speak later, but I'll sit down now.
There's no, sir, this is your time to speak to the board. There is no other time related to this topic later on.
The thing I sent in had 21, I believe, objections to my various properties. That can't be done in 3 minutes.
We've got that on file.
Yeah, we have that on file. Okay, next is Robert Frazier.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Robert Fraser. I first of all completely agree with what the first person said about the fairness of this, but I really want to go to the heart of the matter. We that live on the lake are taxed higher on that property than other property that's not lakefront. Therefore, we are paying higher taxes, and I believe that this extra higher tax that we are paying should be the one that would pay for whatever needs to be done to keep the lake clean and to clear it up. This, I feel, should be the county's problem, not the people that live on the lake's problem. After all, like I said, we're paying extra taxes, and that taxes should go for the cleaning of the lake and so forth. I think they said one time they don't have the money for it. Well, that's not our problem. The money should be there through our taxation. Thank you very much.
Next is Ron Kraus.
Thank you, Commissioners. I did not submit anything before January 5th because I just opened the envelope and saw that this was happening today. My concerns are, as have been mentioned, the transparency of this whole process, number one. But number two is also that I'm not quite sure that I've found anyone who's defined the scope, the monetary needs, the finances. I've not seen it. I've seen appraisal sorts of things that seemed unfair when I heard that too, as has been mentioned by other people here. I also don't see a timeline. I don't see the overall cost of this whole venture. But then add on top of that I get something from the association board that there's a lawsuit suddenly about the actual vote that was taken. I don't see how this process can move forward until things are adjudicated appropriately. And that lawsuit seemed like someone suddenly bailed out the board in this process, one person. So how can one avoid the special interests, whether it's they get discounts on their properties or whether they're the ones who are going to move things forward? And then what is success? I want to know, what is the measure? What metrics are we going to see that our tax burden that has been increased is really adequately addressed and we will receive the appropriate results from this whole process and from our costs to us. So anyhow, I appreciate the opportunity to come in late with my comments, and I thank you very much.
Next is Nadine Jobs. Oh, you're not, okay. Next is Pat Walton.
Hi, I'm Pat Walton, and I don't live on the lake. I have 3 fourplexes at 5726 and 5732 and 5744 Pattison Lake Drive. Did you get my objection? So I don't need to go over what I said before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have that.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is, these are rentals, and I know there's some people, I'm being charged $255 per rental, but still, at that, I'm still paying more than anybody on the lake, except for the wildlife department. And anyway, I know that my tenants, they say their impact on the lake, but I don't have, my tenants are usually, most of them are single people in apartments. And I realize that it is a residence, and you know, some residents are charged $510. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to have affordable rentals on the lake, and I already pay $14,000 taxes. And the county, now I have to pay permits for my 3 septic tanks, and I have to have an inspection every year for my septic tanks. And then if I add this, I'm going to have to raise rents on my apartments. And they want affordable apartments, but they kind of make it hard sometimes for landlords to have affordable apartments. So I think it is more fair if I paid each fourplex as one residence. Because there's usually, most of my fourplexes only have 4 people, single people in each one. Like I said, I have High Bank waterfront where the tenants rarely go down. You know, I have like 3, last summer I saw like three of my tenants that went down and used the lake. So that is, so are there any questions?
We usually do not ask questions
Okay.
during this time.
Is there anything else I should say, Mark? He's my son-in-law. He helps run my rentals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for the sign-up sheet. Is there anyone else in the boardroom that would like to provide testimony that didn't sign up? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Nielsen, 6043 Hanson, Olympia, Washington, southeast end, the good end of the lake. The only comment I would make is that I'm fully in favor of protecting the lake. You have a real issue when you have disparate votes, not based on marital status, but the number of people who are owners. There are 2 people in my house that are owners, myself and my spouse. Mr. Garrett's next door, he's 1 owner. We get twice as much impact as he does. I would suggest to you that that is not fair and that is not just. It doesn't rise to marital de facto discrimination because the criteria is ownership. The other thing is on the issue of the ballot, the 5,000 assessment I'm getting, you have to read the entire document and all the information back at the end to know that. What's prominently displayed, as it is on the notice of this meeting, is the assessment of $500. Doesn't say 500 annually, doesn't say 500 for 10 years. So the first appearance that the voter gets is this is going to cost him $500, when in reality, it's going to cost him 10 times as much, he or she. The last comment I'd make is the statute in question, which I don't have the site, says that the ballots are to be open to the public. It doesn't say you can redact them as to name, address, et cetera. There may be good policy decisions to want that. That's for another day. So I think you need to follow the statute that says the ballots are available to the public, and that includes names and addresses. The subtle problem here, and I'm not impugning anyone's integrity, staff, the Lake Association, anybody, is it gives the appearance that something's being hidden. And you folks have heard that complaint, valid or invalid, 1,000 times, but it really does undermine the confidence in the process. Thank you.
Let the record reflect that was former juvenile court judge Scott Nielsen.
Anyone else in the boardroom? Okay, we will move on to Zoom.
Yeah, hey, Tim, can you hear me? Just sound check.
Yes, I can, Ramiro. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I want to make sure when I call the individuals in the Zoom. First, I have Mr. Alan David. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes related to this public hearing.
No comment on this hearing.
Thank you. Next, I have.
Could we have people raise their hand if they're here for this public comment? They're probably still layovers from our from our meeting at 2 p.m.
For those members of the public and the Zoom, do you hear the Madam Chair stating that if you're planning to testify related to the Pattison Lake fees and charges, which is the purpose of this public hearing, could you please raise your hand and I will call you accordingly. I only have one raised hand, so I'll go ahead and call Mr. Sean McGrath. Please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes, sir. I can see your camera's on, but you're still on mute, sir. Go ahead. I think you're, oh, right there. Go ahead.
Is it showing? It
Yeah,
still shows for me that I'm.
Yeah, we can hear you, so go ahead. 3 minutes, sir.
Great, thank you. I did file written comments just about the overall charge for the Lake Point neighborhood. I believe it's either $37 or $39 per parcel. We have one lot, which is about 300 of shoreline property. Based on the total shoreline, the amount of land that we have is, I think it's like 1.1% of the total shoreline. However, based on us paying that fee for all 257 residences within this neighborhood, we pay over 7% of the total estimated revenue. And I just wanted to reiterate a point another gentleman made. With really not knowing where these figures came from as far as for the different properties and property types. I don't know how these numbers were backed into. It's just a little bit more transparency. And really just to make sure that the Lake Point neighborhood, because we do have one small parcel connected to the lake, that we're not subsidizing all of the owners who have developed land there on the lake. But all my calculations are in my written comment, but that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
I don't see any other raised hands on the Zoom screen. If you'd like to provide testimony this afternoon, could you please raise your hand? On the Zoom screen, please raise your hand. In the Zoom screen, can you please raise your hand?
If I can't hear, I'll raise my hand. Yeah, well, say it again louder.
He's calling for folks on the Zoom who want to testify.
So I don't see anybody else, Madam Chair, so that will conclude public testimony in this public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is any discussion items the commissioners would like to have.
Am I not going to be allowed to speak any further?
Mr. Trowbridge, you were given the opportunity early on, and
You have in front of you the letter I wrote to Mr. Wilson and my request for an overhead projector and my request for hearing assistance.
Mr. Trowbridge, you were provided a moment to provide public testimony. We are no longer accepting public testimony.
Properties, I want to discuss each one, what its classification is. I should at least get 3 minutes per property.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes, and you choose not to use your 3 minutes, sir.
Well, I formally object to such ridiculous. Can you help me out here, Commissioner Edwards? This is ridiculous.
Well, being you're addressing me, we're gonna follow the protocol here. We're not gonna take a vote. Plenty of as far as I know, we're not voting on that. We're gonna discuss this for a while.
Settlement offer. You're not gonna let
Okay, with that, I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
I ask that this meeting be continued then so I can discuss my 6 properties and my objections.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Mensah, Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. This public hearing is now closed.
But it's not over. Just like, I mean, we're not done with this. Well, we're done with this for today. We're We're not done with this. That's what I'm trying to point out. No,
we
sir,
need to
we've
continue on
got
with
a
the meeting.
meeting that's gonna go on tonight until about 7 o'clock, so, sorry.
There's lots of ways to reach commissioners. You can call us, you can email us. This is only one way that the law requires us to have, but it's really like one of the worst ways to interact with us. You can interact with us in any number of other ways. Tim, can you hit next step?
I can probably, the board will hold another briefing where they will be discussing the public testimony they received today. So, and at that point, they will make a determination if they're in the position to move forward with the next step.
Is that public invited to that meeting?
They is available, they will be meeting in here, and this room is open to the public. We have not scheduled that yet, but please, and we post every single board briefing a week in advance, so you can see when the board will be discussing this follow-up briefing.
Okay. With that, we will continue on. We are picking up with the Board of County Commissioners meeting. We left off on page 3 of the Community Planning and Economic Development. Item 6A was to set a public hearing for Development Code Docket Item A-19, Wireless Code Update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Caitlin Nelson, Associate Planner with Community Planning. I am here to request that you set a public hearing for the wireless code update on February 7th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. or soon thereafter in room 110 of the atrium at 3000 Pacific Ave Southeast to accept public comment. The wireless code update is a county-initiated proposal that brings current wireless facility regulations up to date with federal law. Proposed amendments make changes to chapters 20.03, 20.54, and 20.33. Chapter 20.33 is a full repeal and replacement.
Thank you. Any questions?
Microphones are in the ceiling. That's it.
1 second, Caitlin.
He offered that to Mr. Grovich too, you know, I just.
Sarah, did you see my message?
I think my Wi-Fi lagged for a second there, so please let me know if I missed something.
Can you hear us any better from there? Can you hear us? Can you hear me speaking right now? Okay.
This is new. Can I explain this all around here maybe to him?
Sure. Just testing the microphone. Can you hear me without any static? This is our first day in this room, so apologize for the technical problems. Would you like one headset?
No.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I'll let you know, we closed the public hearing for the Pattison Lake, and we're going to be having a follow-up work session in the future, where the 3 of us will discuss the public comment that was received today, and then we'll decide how to proceed from there. So that was kind of the conclusion of the Pattison Lake public hearing.
It will be posted online, but if you give me your information, I will make sure that I give you a phone call to let you know when that briefing will occur. But if you can leave me your phone number and your name, and I will personally call you and let you know when the follow-up briefing will be held in this room. We'll be in this room.
Thank you.
Do you hear me okay with that device?
Okay.
Okay, good, I'm glad.
Okay, so if you'll go up there, the county manager will collect your name and your phone number, and then he'll give you a call when the next briefing is, where we will discuss about the next step. Okay, so going back to
Wireless.
setting a public hearing for the Development Code docket item A-19 Wireless Code Update. Caitlin Nelson, our Associate Planner, just gave an overview on this item. Are there any questions for Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay.
I do have a couple of questions. This also is quite a issue of discussion, I guess, in the community. And my question is, if we were to not move forward on setting this date at this point in time, it would just come back onto the calendar and we'd have an opportunity to, at another public meeting, to set a date, right? I mean, we're not, if we don't move forward with this February 7th, we will have an opportunity to make that decision like maybe 2 weeks later or something. I'm just asking that question to make sure that we don't give up an opportunity to address something.
Yep, no, thank you. Maybe to the benefit of the public is the board holds public hearings. And the purpose of the public hearing is for you to receive public testimony prior to you making a legislative decision. Similar to Pattison Lake, you received public testimony, you didn't make a decision on anything, we'll have a follow-up briefing on that. Similar in this case. If you set the public hearing for February 7th at 5:30 in the afternoon, you will receive public testimony, and the only action that you may take at that time will be just to close the public hearing. And we will schedule a follow-up briefing for you to discuss the public testimony you receive in that public hearing. And then, depending on the board's decision, will be a formal action if that is the case.
Okay, thank you.
I did have additional background information to provide you if you would like it.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The Planning Commission has reviewed this item at several work sessions through 2021 and 2022. And a public hearing was held before the Planning Commission on June 2nd, 2021 to accept public testimony. Following that public hearing, a stakeholder committee was formed to review the wireless code and met 3 times as predetermined by this board. And then the Planning Commission held 9 additional work sessions before voting 5-3 to recommend approval of the code amendment. And a minority report was provided by 3 planning commissioners. A 60-day notice of proposed adoption was provided to the Washington State Department of Commerce on November 18th, 2022. And a SEPA determination of non-significance was issued on the proposal on December 27th, 2022. There was 1 comment received submitted by the Nisqually Indian Tribe with no specific concerns at this time. The board was briefed on October 12th, 2022, and a follow-up briefing was held on November 9th, 2022, where the board directed staff to bring forward an AIS to request a public hearing on the Planning Commission recommendation. And for noticing, community planning will update the website, issue a legal notice and webmail to interested parties, including those who previously submitted comments on this issue, and issue a press release to notify the community of the hearing. Thank you, and I can answer any additional questions.
Okay, I think I got out of sequence there a moment ago, but thank you for taking my question.
I'll ask the timing of, I think I know the answer, but the way you expressed it, you said there were 3 stakeholder meetings and then there were 9 separate planning commission meetings, work sessions. That wasn't after the 3 stakeholder meetings. You're probably counting the whole process, like from tip to tail?
No, there were several work sessions to explain the project to the Planning Commission, and then there were 3 stakeholder work sessions where we had 2 planning commissioners attend. And then after that, we had 9 work sessions between the stakeholder committee meetings and now, before they made their recommendation.
What were the dates of those stakeholder meetings?
I can find that out for you, but we held the public hearing with the Planning Commission in June of 2021, and then I believe the committee stakeholder meetings were between October and January of 2021 to early 2022, and then the Planning Commission work sessions were this last year.
Okay, I mean, I have to say, I don't know what the significance is, but that shocks me, honestly. Like, to me, I thought we were asking the community stakeholder group to do the work. And the fact that they got 3 and then the planning commission had 9 work sessions after that seems like backwards to me. So I'm just wondering what the planning commission was doing in 9 work sessions when the community stakeholder group only got 3 bites at the apple, so to speak, which was the whole point of having them do the heavy lifting on some of these issues. So I don't know, you don't have to go into that necessarily. It's a question that I'll ask offline, but that's a curious process to me.
Okay. Yeah, it was largely to discuss the recommendations that were made by the stakeholder committee, and Ken Fellman, our legal hire that we work with, was discussing with the Planning Commission which of the recommendations were within the federal regulations and which ones were something that would be something that we could address within those regulations. So we can talk more about it, but that was part of the discussion.
Okay, a lot of my questions have been largely asked, so I don't have any additional questions at this point. I guess I'll just reinstate my comments that I made earlier today in terms of the reason I'm wanting to have this this public hearing is because I want to hear from the public. On our planning session minority report, we heard about that community input, and so I kind of wanted to provide also another avenue for the community to provide that input and from us to hear from it. I know we will be having a follow-up session where we will be discussing this at length. This is a topic that, even though I feel like I'm way in over my depth, it is something that I am trying to study and catch up on. I know the planning session did a lot of work for this. So just really looking forward to that public hearing and kind of hearing what the community really has to say. If there are no further questions, I am ready for a motion.
I'll move to set a public hearing on docket item May 19, wireless code update in room 110 of the atrium.
Second.
At 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast for February 7th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Never mind. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Hey.
Commissioner Mensah, Commissioner Mejia,
Aye.
Did you say nay or aye?
No, I said hey.
Hey.
Yes, hey.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
You threw me for a loop. Thank you, Commissioner.
We gotta have some fun up here. It's getting pretty serious.
Moving on to Public Health and Social Services, item 7A, contract with the Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for Safe Spaces Pilot Project. And Keely Marino,
Kelly, are you gonna be covering this item?
not seeing Tom, so but I see Keely.
Yes, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Keely Marino. I'm with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services, and I'm here today to ask that you approve funding Olympia Mutual Aid Partners. And I apologize, my computer shut down and cut me off from my AIS, so I don't have a copy of it in front of me. $111,000 and I again, I apologize, I cannot pull up my AIS for the correct amount. So if you will give me a moment.
469,
I can help you.
111, 469.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I unfortunately had some technological issues this afternoon. The Olympic Clean Air Regional Olympic Regional Clean Air Agency has received countless complaints over the last several years around fires that are being are in encampments, either for individuals within those encampments, be they burning trash, keeping warm, or cooking food. And in good faith effort this year, they reached out to a nonprofit in town, Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, to seek partnership in ways to come from a harm reduction perspective to encourage through education, through resources, through case management, to reduce the fires being fires within the encampments. The encampments that would be targeted by this pilot program that is being suggested are the Jungle, which is located off of Martin Way and between Martin Way and Pacific, as well as an encampment at Percival Landing on the west side. These camps would be the focus of Olympia Mutual Aid Partners' efforts in reducing the use of fires. In good faith, Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and ORCA did present to the Regional Housing Council twice. They came before the Regional Housing Council to introduce the idea of this pilot project, and a second time received unanimous approval from the Regional Housing Council to receive funding. One of the requests from Regional Housing Council is that Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and ORCA reach out to the fire departments. They met with 3 fire chiefs, and all of the fire chiefs that met with them were in support of these efforts. Yes, so we are hoping that today you would also approve funding this effort. It's for the next 6 months for a pilot program to reduce the use of fires and increase safety within encampments and within Thurston County.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
My only question would be that this doesn't say that it is a one-year pilot program, but that's what it is, right?
Correct. Apologize. Yes.
In the motion, it states it's 2023.
And for 2023, so it's going to start, and it's going to be a one-year program, one-year pilot program.
Yes, sir.
And then we will be advised later on, I guess, what success looks like and what the criteria is going to involve as you guys put this all together. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer? I don't have any questions. We've had at-length discussions about this. So if the public would like to know more about it, they could watch this morning meetings or last week's meeting where we had a lot of our questions answered. So with that, thank you, Keely. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the 2023 contract with Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for $111,469 to implement the Safe Spaces pilot project to address hazardous smoke and fire at unsanctioned camp communities, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contract, and any amendments do not increase the value by more than 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to Public Works, item 8A is to set a public hearing to consider adoption of a compost procurement ordinance. And I see, is that Dean?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
Thank you. I'm Dean Benning with Public Works. I'm the Senior Program Manager. I'm here to propose a move to set a public hearing to consider adoption of a compost procurement ordinance. This ordinance grows out of a House Bill 1799 that was passed earlier last year. The primary objective of that House bill is to limit or reduce methane emissions from landfills. And those methane emissions are largely caused by organic wastes that go into the landfill. The portion of this House bill that impacts Thurston County the most is the requirement for us to have a ordinance, basically, that states we will do all we can to use more compost and compost related materials in our construction projects. So in essence, this procurement ordinance really only will impact Public Works as well as central services. Lastly, I will say that the Solid Waste Advisory Committee has reviewed this and has unanimously approved and supported it and its passage.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. We had plenty of comment about this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No.
No questions for me. I am ready for a motion.
Move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, beginning at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard, in room 110, located at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast, to accept and consider public comment on a proposed ordinance outlining the procurement of compost materials in certain Thurston County projects.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Our final department item, item 8B, is project prospectus and local program state funding agreement for the Safe Routes to School program, Pleasant Glade Elementary Pedestrian Improvement, CP number 61523. And Brian Mayer, our senior civil engineer, will report on this.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brian Meyer, Senior Civil Engineer with Thurston County Public Works. Public Works has recently been awarded $1,440,000 in federal funding from the Safe Route to Schools program for the design and construction of the Pleasant Glade Elementary Pedestrian Improvement Project. This project will improve the safety for school children and pedestrians along Abernathy Road, which currently has no sidewalks, bike lanes, lighting, or crosswalks. The project will install approximately 1,700 linear feet of sidewalks between 15th Avenue and Pleasant Glade Elementary School. Other improvements include the addition of streetlights, stormwater treatment, and sidewalk ramps improvements. Washington State Department of Transportation authorizes the use of and award of federal funds, typically for design, right-of-way, and construction, and each phase requires execution of agreements or supplements. The first phase will be design and will authorize the obligation of $162,000 of the Safe Route to Schools program funds, which requires a 10% match of local funds coming from the road fund. Subsequent supplements will be needed to obligate additional funding for the future phases of this project. Public Works is requesting the Board of County Commissioners to authorize the Director of Public Works to sign the project prospectus and local program state funding agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation and any subsequent amendments and supplements. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menser? Okay, I don't have any questions. I am ready for a motion.
I move to approve the project prospectus and local program state funding agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation and authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the agreement and all subsequent amendments and supplements for the Safe Routes to School program, Pleasant Glade Elementary Pedestrian Improvements, CP 61523.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item 9A, Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we will start with you.
Okay, I think the one committee report that I believe is worth bringing up is the Fair Board meeting. And they've set the date for the 26th of July for the upcoming fair. One of the concerns brought up was electric charging stations that might be put in at the fairgrounds for county vehicles or other activities, and how that might fit. And the possibility of getting away from fossil fuels and being able to convert to electric heat. Possibly we'll find some grant money or something that could help them in that endeavor. And then the other two issues that were pretty time consuming over the week would have been airport concerns in our community and the lakes issues. That'll be it for me. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menser?
Let's see, last week involved work with community members on preservation of agricultural land, a whole bunch of brainstorming ideas there. Meeting with Lake Management District leadership, legislative meetings with Senator Hunt from the LD 22 on county priorities, touring lot properties with, in my role on the board of the Lot Clean Water Alliance, regarding some partnerships we're exploring with South Sound Community College. Meeting with stakeholders on some projects in Grand Mound, preparation for Board of Health today with our new Director of Public Health, and also some meetings involving preparation for a Climate Action Steering Committee retreat that's coming in a week and a half.
Thank you. I guess the big two items that I will report on, I met with Commissioner Janicki from Skagit County in regards, she just got the DNR appointment, and so I had an at-length discussion with her on the several issues that we are facing currently with DNR in regards to Legacy Forest as well as the Summit Lake cuts, and how to improve our relationship with DNR. So that was a really good discussion. She said she was going to look more into the Delica cuts that were scheduled that would affect Summit Lake residents. So I've also started with the Legislative Steering Committee with WASAC. That's going to, and that's the Washington State Association of Counties. So that's going to be taking quite a bit of time as we go into this legislative session. So any updates that come from the Washington State Association of Counties, I'll be sure to pass on. For the public, if you would like to know what I'm up to during the week, I do post my calendar on Facebook, so you can see my weekly updates. Moving on to item 9B, the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of January 10th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me walk you through your combined schedule for the next week. With at least 2 commissioners will be present in those meetings. You may have individual appointments, your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Here, soon thereafter this meeting, we have your regular Board of Health meeting in a few minutes, and that will be in a different Zoom meeting. So we'll be starting the Zoom meeting as soon. I think we have other board members of the Board of Health present, so we'll get accommodated after that. Wednesday, January 11th, and then in the morning, you have a briefing related to, from the EDC, an annual recap. That will be the Economic Development Council. At 11:30 tomorrow, January 11th, you will be asked to attend the Thurston County Chamber State of the Community event, and that will be located at St. Martin's University, Northland, on the conference center, located at 5300 Pacific Avenue Southeast in Lacey. 2 in the afternoon, January 11th, you have a briefing related to LOT, the Clean Water Alliance Planning for the Future briefing. And at 3 in the afternoon tomorrow, we will have a briefing related to Development Code Docket 8-18 is agricultural activities in agricultural area ordinance. Thursday, January 12th, you have your regular commissioners check-in at 10 in the morning. And at 2 in the afternoon, Thursday, January 12th, you have a briefing related to on Friday, January 13th, at noon, you have been invited to participate on the WASAC legislative update. Is that the LSC, Commissioner Mejia? At noon on Friday?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Commissioner Mejia who will be attending the LSC, just a matter of clarification. Moving on to next week, Monday, January 16th, county offices will be closed in observance of the Martin Luther King Day. Moving on to Tuesday, January 17th, 9 in the morning, we have your regular agenda setting, and 2 in the afternoon, you have your regular Board of County Commissioners here in this room, which is room 110 of the meeting. And I just like to express my appreciation to the viewing public of the patients as we work through the logistical elements of this new room, the new audio-visual systems that we have in here.
Coming in and out.
And it's coming in and out in my voice, so I appreciate your patience, and we'll make sure we'll take care of all the little bugs for our next meeting, so thank you.
Just one item that just, I think, got added on. I know I will be attending, and I'm not sure if other commissioners will be attending, but the Supreme Leaving meet and greet that was announced earlier at 2
Yeah,
PM
it
today.
was, you got an invitation,
So,
and also you got an invitation for the New Life Baptist Church event that is gonna be on Monday, January 16th at noon, in celebration for the Martin Luther King.
okay. So with that, it is 4:29 PM. We will be starting Board of Health. Chair, what time will we be starting for the Board of Health?
40.
So we will be starting the Board of Health meeting at 4:40 PM. I would like to thank all members of the public who joined us today and provided public testimony. We are adjourned.